Now trick, I won't ask you. That ain't what Max do. Let the shimmy order to tattoo. Backtrack 2 years ago. I was with niggas straight hate. Baby, I bring in more cake. Know the ball great. Got progress. Hoes on a nigga big still. Bigger, you make a bitch feel good. Like she about to be really up. It was just in my vibes to get it in the loop. Get the coupe, the cop cars. Got a drop top Bentley. Niggas let the way the boss flow. 35 at the car. No, like a car boat on water. Cruising on seashore. Come let me take
Maximilian Must Know. Got sort of an interesting concept for you guys tonight, I think. And basically that concept is I'm going to talk to you about my 5 favorite notes and my 5 least favorite notes. And the way that this video came about is I recently on one of the Facebook groups bought a half full bottle of Alcat by Zerzhov, the Oud Stars line, from a guy on one of the groups, Guy Sai. Great transaction, by the way. When I review Alcat, I'll give you I'll let you know some more information about him in the transaction. But a great transaction. Blind bought this bottle from him, and he said, you know, I'd like to give you some samples. What notes do you like? And I sort of really thought about it. I really never had thought about it before. You know, what notes do I like? So I gave him some notes, and I just decided I would do a video on my 5 favorite notes and my 5 least favorite notes. And then I hope some other reviewers run with this, and I'd be really happy to hear what my subscribers, what their favorite notes are and least favorite notes. So I'm going to do 2 honorable mentions, and then I'm going to give you my 5 favorites, and then I'm going to give you my 5 least favorites, and 1 honorable mention for least favorites. So honorable mention, and really these are in no particular order, but an honorable mention is, I would have to say, coconut. I really enjoy coconut and fragrances, of course. I love the coconut in this guy right here, Virgin Island Water. Also love the coconut in Apuana by Perfume del Forte, which is a fragrance I hope to get this summer. I think coconut is just really nice in fragrances, great in the summertime, very tropical. It's not a note that is played with that much, but when it's done right, like it is in BIW and Apuana, coconut can be really great and really refreshing. The second honorable mention is coffee. I'm really beginning to like coffee in my fragrances. Fragrances that I kind of have 2 holy grail fragrances for coffee. The first one is for like a sweeter latte with some real gourmand notes. I really enjoy Sebastian's Royal Espresso. I think that's a great fragrance. Hopefully I'll buy a bottle of that this year. Great indie fragrance from the house of Sebastian. And then sort of the more upscale side and like a blacker, serious coffee fragrance. I'm just so in love with this guy right here, Intoxicated, but by Killian. I think it does coffee really well, and this has a Turkish coffee note. Turkish coffee is sort of very strong and thick, so I really enjoy coffee notes on fragrances. You know, if I see a coffee note and a fragrance, I'm automatically sort of interested in that fragrance, and I want to check it out, especially niche. Don't get that much coffee in Terry Mugler's Pure Coffee. Definitely get more coffee and Intoxicated and Royal Espresso. So those are the 5 honorable mentions. Now let's do my 5 favorite notes. So the first one is, it's funny because I don't really like licorice as a food. You know, I'm not a licorice fanatic, but I just find something about licorice and fragrances just really grabs me, and I really like, there's some fragrances I have that I love licorice in. Au Masculin, of course, by Lolita Lompica. I have that. I have the Minuit version as well. Oud Black Candy by Mancera, I think, is a great licorice fragrance that's really centered around licorice. 2 that I need to get, of course, Oud Greedy by Montal, which is a really nice licorice scent, and for me, the king of the licorice scents. And you can see I basically have none of my sample left of this, so I'm going to be getting a bottle definitely this year from the House of Kerosene. This one is called Black Vine. And to me, this is the king of licorice scents. I kind of describe it as what pulp is to fruit scents, Black Vines is to licorice scents. So licorice is definitely the first of my top 5 favorite notes. The next one, note I've really been enjoying as of recent, is just leather. I think leather in fragrances is awesome. Not a huge fan of Terry Mugler's Pure Leather. The 2 leather fragrances that I have that I like best are, of course, this guy from the house of Christian Dior. This is a sort of floral sort of makeup-y leather, Kirkanash for a private line. And another one that I love is La Yucawam, owned by Rasasai. That's sort of a Tuscan leather clone. I think Tuscan leather probably is the king of like clean leather fragrances, and I think the king of sort of this genre. My pick would be Xerjov's from the XJ line, which I really want a bottle of that. It's like $600, so I don't know if I'll be getting one anytime soon. But definitely, that to me is the king of like this genre, and the king of the sort of like player, masculine, pimpish leather fragrances is definitely that Tuscan leather, which really does smell like a brand new Italian leather jacket. And two great substitutes for that are, of course, Rasasai La Yucawam owned by Rasasai, and Black Saffron by Byredo, and Golden Boy by Duetto. I heard is pretty good if you like that Tuscan leather style fragrance. The next note I'm really enjoying, it's sort of two notes, incense and myrrh. I know that frankincense is different from sweet myrrh or myrrh, but they both have that smoky resinous feel. So for frankincense, there's a couple fragrances I really like that I have. Incense by Smell Ben is like a $50 incense fragrance. It's just out of this world. It's incense and it's vanilla smoked woods, and it's probably my favorite incense scent, maybe next to this guy. And this is a newer acquisition. I'm gonna have a review of this later this year, along with Intoxicated from the House of Aged Venustus. This one's Copal Azor, and this one is a beachy incense. It's got like this sea salt note and this aquatic feel, but it's also got this really high concentration of frankincense, so it's great as an incense fragrance. Works out really well. Love this one. And then for the myrrh side, the niche fragrance that I love that sort of tackles myrrh head on is Min New York's Memento, which is my favorite scent from their Scent Stories line. And then sort of on the designer side, a myrrh scent that I think is just out of this world, and so worth the money is this one, Prada's Puppy, or Prada Amber Pour Homme Intense. It's got this beautiful myrrh note in this, and this sort of reminds me of Memento. And another great one is Christian Dior's Eau Sauvage Eau de Parfum. So those are myrrh scents in my collection that I love. The fourth note that I love is oud. There's some ouds I don't like. There's some I like smooth ouds. So like the ouds that I like are Tom Ford's Oud Wood, Acqua di Parma's Colonia Intensa Oud, Creed's Royal Oud, and this guy, which right now is really close to my favorite oud fragrance. This one from the House of Montal is called Nepal Oud, and this is just really smooth. It's got a saffron note in it. It's different to me than most Montal fragrances, and I would definitely recommend giving this a try if you like the Montal oud fragrances. This one is called Nepal Oud. So I like really smooth and sort of clean ouds, not the really funky ones that I might have bought. Speaking of getting Alcat, from Xerjov Oud Stars, maybe I bought myself one of those. But oud is the fourth note that I'm going to mention to you guys as my favorites. So the fifth and final favorite note is for me mint. I really, really enjoy mint in fragrances. I like the mint that's in Xerjov's 1861 and Acqua di Cima's Eau d'Italy's Acqua di Cima. And of course, you guys know my favorite mint scent, guys. If you know my channel, you know it's Geranium Pour Monsieur by Frederic Malle, which to me is just like mint, the mint version of Pulp and Black Lines. And of course, on the designer side, I really enjoy Cartier's Roadster. I think that with the patchouli and the vanilla is an awesome fragrance. So these are two mint fragrances that I love, and I just think mint in fragrance is a really nice way to give a fragrance a freshness without citrus or relying on the usual boring aquatics. So my 5 least favorite notes. I do have 5 least favorite notes. First one can be patchouli. I like patchouli in very specific scents. Roadster, like the patchouli in Roadster, like the patchouli in Javanese Patchouli by Xenia. Don't like it in the new Patchouli Absolute by Tom Ford, which to me is just too much about patchouli. Don't like it in Hindu Grass by Nasomato. To me, that fragrance is just all patchouli, and I think it makes it boring. Don't like it in this scent, which is Lorenzo Villarisi's patchouli, and it's just all patchouli. And I think sometimes patchouli can really overwhelm a fragrance, make it smell too eucalyptusy, too menthol, and too earthy, and too hippie-ish. So, not a huge fan of patchouli in fragrances unless they're done very specifically. So that's the honorable mention. The 5 least favorite notes. Well, first one might surprise you guys: citrus. And unless you're Italian and you're doing my citrus, so I mean like Xerjoff, Acqua di Parma, Profumum Roma, and some French houses, Creed, okay, don't do citrus, because to me citrus can be so boring, and unless the citrus note is going to be really high quality, it's just a waste. When I see citrus in a lot of designer or cheapy fragrances, I immediately think, oh god, this is going to be really boring. And I think that citrus, I love citrus, again, used the right way, but I think citrus is dangerous because it can make a fragrance boring real quick, and unless you're using very high quality citrus, it can smell cheap very quickly. The next note I'm not a huge fan of is watermelon, and I'll tell you why. For me, no one has done watermelon the right way. Millesime Imperial to me is not a watermelon fragrance. It is just not. I haven't smelled anything yet that really has captured watermelon the right way. What I would like, the 2 that I really am anxious to try are Cheyenne Blues Watermelon and Brezza di Mare by Profomi Differenzi. Those 2 I think maybe have some hope, but so far I've been really let down by any fragrance that has promised to be watermelon, so I'm scared when I see watermelon notes in fragrances. The next note that I'm not a huge fan of is also oud. So oud was a favorite. It can also be a non-favorite for me. There are some oud fragrances like Kir de Arabi by Montal. I think it's called Zafar by Xerjoff in the Oud Stars line. Leather Oud by Dior that are just too much. They're too animalic, they're too barnyardy, and I don't even really get a barnyard smell out of most of those. I get like a really funky Stilton cheese note, and I just don't want to smell like that. You know, even if it leaves after an hour, I want to enjoy my fragrance for the whole journey, especially if I'm paying over $100 or $200 a bottle. So oud for me can work out great, or it can work out not so well. Really specific on the scent. The 4th note is rose. Rose is not a note that I'm a huge fan of. There's a couple of rose scents that I have that I like. I really like Tea Rose by Perfumer's Workshop, which is just a really sort of basic rose scent that smells really fresh and invigorating. I like Rouge Avignon. I like how that's surrounded with raspberry and cocoa and hinoki wood. But for the most part, I don't like Lyric Man by Amouage. I don't like Cafe Rose by Tom Ford. I don't like how rose is used in Intense Cafe by Montal. I just am not a fan of rose. It's too flowery for me. The floral notes that I enjoy in fragrances are usually white floral notes, because those can smell very clean and crisp, and when paired with a really high-end citrus, white florals can be really nice, and they can actually be masculine, but rose I have a tough time with. And then the 5th note that I don't like is usually civet. And usually civet in a fragrance, which is a synthetic type of animal secretion or a musk, it can be too much for me. I like musk and I like Historium. Civet I'm having a hard time with. I don't like it in Musk de Kubla Khan by Serge Luton. Again, I don't like it in Leather Oud. I do like it in some fragrances. I don't mind it in Koros. I think it's used right in Koros. I think that the zoology scents, Victor Wong's house, I think he's done a great job of taking those animalic notes and making them very likable by surrounding them with a lot of other sort of interesting notes. And I like the fact that he of course does it with synthetics and humanely. So, but civet for me very quickly can turn me off to a scent. So guys, those are my favorite and least favorite notes in perfumery, and I'd be really anxious to hear yours, and reviewers, other reviewers out there. If you're watching this, please do your own video on this, and you know, respond to this with a link if you want to, and let me know your favorite and least favorite notes. I'll see you guys again real soon with another video.
Baby, go both ways. I ain't sleeping 4 days. Niggas know it's the coke boy gigolo, and how you get your dough, never let a nigga know.
Before I go, I blow, buck, po. Got a fist for dough, I love dough, and when my dough blow, when it's just slow flows.